Hi, John from Peach Guitars here. Guitar.com have asked me to put together 2 rigs for the ultimate SRV tone. We've got one that is a more budget friendly rig, and then another one where we've gone all out, no expenses spared, to try and achieve that elusive, mystical SRV tone. So for more content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel below. Cheers. Sweet. So I picked out a rig today to try and nail some of the SRV tones through the years. I'm sure a lot of you fans out there will know that Stevie's tone changed massively, really, kind of between the first Texas Flood album right through to Instep. I mean, his playing kind of changed a fair bit as well, but he kind of almost had the same principles and the same kind of starting point that he went with his tone. He tried to get the amp kind of breaking up a little bit, and then hit it hard with a tube screamer for a little bit more volume and stuff for his solos. But when you listen to Texas Flood, you know, like the tone that you hear on like Texas Flood and Pride and Joy and Lenny is very different to the sounds of Crossfire and Tightrope. It's hard to pick out one amp to try and nail all those tones from that different period. But I've picked one amp, which is my favourite amp in the world, the 2 Rock Silver Sterling Signature. And I've got a few pedals here as well. I'm going to try and achieve some of those tones if we can. And this is my custom shop Dale Wilson Master Built Strat. It has a set of Mark Foley's new pickups from MF Guitars. These are the El Macambo #1. No surprises for guessing on what the tone is aimed at. But what Mark has done at MF Guitars is managed to get the original magnets that they used in '59. Which is what Stevie's original pickups were, and he's kind of almost reverse engineered that sound, and for me it's the closest I've been able to get. And I've been through every single Strat pickup you can imagine over the years, driven myself insane and a lot of my friends insane as well, that have had the torture of having to listen to it, the A-B comparisons. The amp that I'm using, the Silver Sterling, is a very, very high headroom amp that's very much in the style of the Dumble amps that Stevie used, the steel string singer. So it took me a long time to kind of dial this amp in and get it to the point of where I really like it. I think at first, when I first got it, I was trying to really crank the master and get the gain up a little bit more and stuff as well, but I've actually found setting it a bit cleaner and then using the right pedals, I get a better success out of it that way, which is always against kind of how I thought to try and get the sound. I always could try to get a lot of breakup out of the amp, like the sound of like a Fender amp on 6, and then boost it from there. But if you hear now, I've got it set kind of fairly clean. There's a little bit of kind of drive there when you push it hard. Right, so the 3 main kind of drive pedals that I've got today, well, one is a Fuzz anyway. I'm using the King Tone Dualist and also the Silicon Fuzz that Jesse does, and I've also got a Ryra clone pedal, which is like a clone style overdrive, as I'm sure you all know. I use both sides of the Dualist quite a lot. The left hand side I set as a kind of a lower gain sort of almost like a clean rhythm type sort of sound, or a clean soloing type sort of thing. So I'm going to show you that now, see how that sounds. Another thing to mention, which is a big part of the sound, it's not the sort of thing that Stevie used, but it was something that Jesse Davey at King Tone has done, is the King Tone switch. In the standard full-on position, it's all the way kind of clockwise, it's completely bypassed, giving you the true sort of, you know, regular Strat tone that you expect. But when you cut it back 1, it kind of gives a really focused frequency response that works really well with the overdrive pedals, and I'll show you what I mean with that as well. It kind of takes a little bit of that top end off. So here's the left side of the Dualist. So it's got that kind of clean but kind of dirty sound as well. So if you roll it back off just a smidge, it can be really quite clean. But then if you crank it up, go on the neck pickup and roll it back on that king tone switch and use that left hand side of the dual list, you get that really kind of thicker rhythm type of tone as well. So if you use that in comparison to the full-on sound of the bypass sound, it's kind of you know, 1990 era Stevie versus kind of the 83 sort of sound. It gives you, both of them are wonderful kind of sounds, but that little switch makes a hell of a difference to the tone. So I'm going to use the right hand side of the dual list now, which is the string singer side, which is the more typical kind of tube screamer type sort of sound that obviously Stevie used on a lot of his lead sounds. I'm using it on the glass mode as well of the pedal, so I'm going to show you what that sounds like. I'll start off with the king tone switch in the bypass position, and then show you how that sounds when we go into the first position down. So here we go. So now if you go with that one down on that king tone switch, you get that. Really kind of helps thicken up that sound. So if you go back to the standard stock bypass sound, just kind of gives you a little bit of extra give when you go back to this position on the king tone. Makes it really kind of fun sound to play with, because you get that really bitey kind of stinging treble, but without it kind of really cutting your head off. So here you go. If you go on the neck pickup, and then if you bypass it, go back to position 0 as it were, and then go to the in-between sounds, it kind of really brings out the juicy and the spanky sounds that are there. And then another thing that I like to do, just when you want a little bit kind of extra give up the high end when you're playing up, you know, up past the 12th fret, I just like to switch in the Ryra clone. So basically I have no gain, the treble's just under halfway, and kind of just a little bit extra output just to push the front end of the dual list. So this is it without. And then this is with the Ryra pushed in as well. huge, really big, beefy kind of sound. So we've gone through a lot of really gainy type sort of sounds there as well. Okay, now, so I'm going to switch on the King Tone Silicon Mini Fuzz. I'm going to kind of use this backwards now. Most people would probably use it, but Jesse put out from King Tone a fantastic video actually showing off the clean tones of the pedal. So with the fuzz backed right off, and you get the right setting on the bias, you can get some really glassy kind of bitey clean sounds. You know, sounds that are very reminiscent of when you hear the tone that Stevie had on some of the live versions of Tin Pan Alley, his studio version of Little Wing. It kind of when you roll it back, I mean, I'm sure Stevie was just achieving it by playing through a cranked amp with his volume turned down. So it's got that same kind of Little Wing type sound as well. So it has that kind of chiminess and the bell-like kind of sound that you kind of, with the way that I've got the amp set with the pedals, if we go to the bypass clean sound now, you got a kind of quite dry and hasn't got that kind of bitey treble. If I turn this back on now, it's got that. It has that really cool, fun sort of sound that's really, really nice to play with as well. So, but what I'll do now, I'll reset the fuzz so it's a more of a kind of traditional fuzz type sort of sound, and show you what it's like for the more in-step kind of sounds that Stevie used as well. Okay, so I've got the fuzz set up now for a kind of a more traditional fuzz, heavier kind of thick sort of sound as well, but it's still got kind of quite a nice bit of bite to it. Often hear him, you know, Stevie using it on the live versions of Leave My Little Girl Alone and Tightrope and, you know, Voodoo Child as well. So let's get some of that going on. I often like to stack, run a fuzz into a low gain overdrive. So this time I'm going to start off with the fuzz on its own and then switch in the left hand side of the dualist as we go. So here you go. Got that kind of houses rocking type sort of rhythm sound there as well, but Voodoo Child type sort of sound now with the dualist on. So a really powerful, thick kind of fuzz sound. You know, he often used it when he played the solo for Life Without You as well, in the later years as well. So it has that real kind of thick. So you have a lot of fuzz with that type of sound, so I'm not going to go on too long before I deafen myself. So my favourite wah is the white exotic wah pedal. I think it sounds really cool. It's got lots of different kind of sounds in it, but the tone kind of straight out the box for me always sounds superb. So just give you a quick blast of that. Right, okay, in this part of the video I just want to show you kind of how you can get a really good tone out of some standard, fairly off-the-shelf stuff that we carry kind of on a fairly regular basis from Fender. I've got a Fender Player Series Strat. I think these guitars are superb and they really offer fantastic value for money, really good specs with nice size, you know, medium jumbo frets, Alnico pickups, and they're just really good playable guitars anyway. So I'm going to be running it for a Blues Junior. Again, a fairly kind of a stock amp that's pretty easy to get hold of, and I've got the cheapest Ibanez TS Mini as well. So that's the Tube Screamer Mini that we, you know, based on the TS9 and, you know, the classic circuits and stuff. So with the other video that I did with the 2-rock amp and my Strat and stuff like that, that's just, you know, years and years and years of trying to absolutely nail a sound kind of exactly. Whereas with this, you know, I'm trying to get just in the spirit of the sound and just show you what it's like. I mean, we spent just a few minutes kind of sound checking this rig, and you know, everyone was in agreement that it just sounded great. So I'm just going to play you the straight into the amp sound with a TS bypassed, and then show you what it sounds like with it on as well. So here you go. And then with the Tube Screamer on. So you can see there, with not loads of tweaking and kind of messing around with the sound, I've got the Tube Screamer set kind of with just a little bit of drive and kind of just a little bit of just above unity on the level. Kind of gets you there, you know, you get that kind of clean sound there. There we go, try that again. I think the key with the Stevie sound is you've just got to kind of get the amp so it's just got that little bit of break up, but it can still be clean when you back off like this is. And then when you push it with a Tube Screamer harder, it kind of gives you that nice little bit of kind of squish and kind of compression under your fingers, but keeps the clarity there as well. So let's try that. just going to play out with a few more of my favourite kind of sounds. I think kind of my absolute favourite tone from Stevie's probably, on a record I would say, is probably the sound that he kind of had on Couldn't Stand the Weather. It's got the perfect blend of the clean kind of sound, but the drive sound has got so much kind of balls to it and kind of so much clarity at the same time as well. So that's the tone that I always kind of strive to achieve. And I think with the right hand side of the dualist and the using the king tone switch, you can really kind of get very, very close to those sort of sounds. So just going to have a quick play and show you what I mean.